It's 2025 now, the perfect opportunity to pick up a new skill. And if you're ready to create something like this, you've come to the right place. As in this video, I'm going to provide you with a proven step-by-step system to enable you to learn visual effects as fast as possible. I'm going to show you the best programs to use, the most valuable resources and possible traps to avoid. Let's get inside. Alright, so congratulations on your decision to learn visual effects. It gives you true creative freedom as you can create whatever you want with no limitations. Now I'm sure some of you just need visual effects to enhance their short films, others want to create social media content, and some of you want to get really serious and do visual effects as a job. But no matter what the goal is, the first steps are always the same and there's a fast and a slow way to learn it. Now I still remember very well how it felt like when I started learning visual effects about 5 years ago, and since then I've talked with many people about this and also received lots of feedback under last year's video, and based on all of that I've developed what I believe is the perfect way to kickstart your visual effects journey. Alright, so let's start with step number 1, which is choosing the program to use. There are various types of software used for VFX, and especially in Hollywood they use many very expensive programs like Maya for modeling, Houdini for simulation and Nuke for compositing. But when starting out, you don't actually need any of it, as there's one program which can do all of that for free. It's an open source program called Blender and basically offers everything like the expensive programs. And I even prefer it to most programs, and many small studios do too and switch to Blender. Now there are reasons why Blender is not often used in Hollywood, but that's not important for us in the beginning. And once you know a 3D program like Blender, learning another one becomes a lot easier since you already understand the idea of 3D. Alright, we got our program, but what next? Well, the good thing about Blender is that it has a huge community online with endless YouTube tutorials. And most Blender users start with the Donut series by Blender Guru, which is step number 2. It's a 14-part series in which it teaches all the basics, going over modeling, texturing, lighting, compositing and so much more. If you don't know what that means, you will learn it in this series. It's really good. In the end you will have your own donut animation, but more importantly an understanding of Blender and the 3D world, so that you can move on with step number 3, which is starting with your first project. But hang on, how should I start with my first project? I first need to learn more about modeling, texturing, animation and pretty much everything. That's a mindset I see a lot, but I don't think this is actually a good way to learn. In my opinion, you should immediately start with your first project once you know the basics of Blender. And with project I don't mean that you should go and make your own movie, but one visual effect shot from start to finish. So after you finish the donut series, you could for example do a stone levitation effect and post it on Instagram. It just has to be something fun to make sure you keep your interest in visual effects and don't give up when there are frustrating parts. And believe me, especially in the beginning, there will be a lot of frustration as a lot can go wrong and Blender doesn't really tell you what the problem is. So you will have to look online for people who had a similar issue and try to find a solution. But the good bit is, with more experience you will be able to identify the problem source easier and will be able to spend more time creating. After you've done your first project, you will notice that the compositor built into Blender isn't all that great and that you will have to find an external one. Compositing is quite important for visual effects, as in the compositing stage you match your 3D render with your real-life footage. This could be adding color corrections, camera shakes, lens flares and so on. And there are actually a lot of effects that can be achieved by only using a compositor. The intro, for example, was only done using After Effects and some stock footage. After Effects is my compositor of choice and I would also recommend it to most of you guys, since it is layer-based, which is easier to understand and offers basically everything you could need. If you only want to match your render with your footage, the Fusion tab inside of DaVinci Resolve could also be a good idea, but if you want to do more complex stuff like in the intro, it would be better to use something else. But the good thing is that many of the Fusion features are also available in the free version of DaVinci Resolve, so that could be an argument for it. In really professional environments, Nuke is the most common compositor since it is node-based and offers some extra features. But if you're gonna need these extra features, you're going to know by yourself. Alright, and once you've reached that level, you're not a beginner anymore, so you will have to find your own way from here on. I can only recommend to still watch some tutorials and then over time doing more and more shots yourself, so that in the end you don't need tutorials anymore. Okay, so now I still want to show you the resources that helped me the most when learning visual effects. I mostly watch YouTube tutorials, so most of these are gonna be YouTube channels, but there are also some good courses online, which I get to in a moment. Okay, so starting with YouTube channels for Blender. Now, some of these channels also use After Effects, but Blender is the main program that they are using. And the first one on the list is Blender Guru. Now, that's the guy that also did the Donut series. But besides the Donut series, he also has some other really great tutorials around a lot of topics like lighting, texturing, and a lot of other stuff. And all of them are really worth a watch. One of my favorite Blender YouTube channels is Polyfjord. Now, he doesn't do visual effects specific videos, but he always shows some very interesting techniques, and all of his videos are also really entertaining, so make sure to check him out. Another really entertaining Blender channel is CG Geek. Some of his videos are about visual effects, some are about CG in general. Most of them are more made for beginners, so especially in the beginning, you want to check out his videos. A really cool channel for visual effects is IanHubert. Unfortunately, he doesn't upload videos anymore, but all of his old videos are a must-watch as he shows some really advanced techniques, so make sure to check them out. InLightVFX is a channel I discovered recently. He does some super high quality videos, sometimes also with After Effects, and most of them are more made for advanced users, so you might want to wait a little, but once you're ready, you should check them out. The last channel on the list is Peter France. You might have seen him in some of the corridor videos, but he also has his own channel with tutorials for Blender and After Effects. But the reason he's on the list is because he recently started doing live streams where he added viewer submissions in a 3 to 4 hour live stream, and I could really pull a lot of value out of it, and I think you will too. Now, for Adobe After Effects, I can recommend Film Riot. They also do videos about filmmaking, but I really like their visual effects videos because they show a really professional workflow, which is also super important, so make sure to check them out. Cinecom was my favorite YouTube channel back when I started learning visual effects. Now, unfortunately, they stopped making videos now, but they've made almost 1000 videos about filmmaking and visual effects. Most of the videos are made for beginners, so especially in the beginning, you wanna check them out. ProductionCrate have some really cool videos about visual effects where they show how to create all kinds of superhero shots. Now, unfortunately, they have stopped making them and are now doing videos about After Effects in general, which are also really cool. But if you scroll back a couple of years, you can still watch all of the visual effects videos. If you want to stay up to date about the new After Effects updates, you should definitely check out Flomotion, as he always tells you what's new in the newest version of After Effects, and he also does some great videos about visual effects as well. Now, ActionVFX is a website with stock footage for visual effects, but they also have a YouTube channel where they show how to use the stock footage. The tutorials are great, and even if you don't use their assets, you can still follow along, so it's definitely worth checking out as well. If I missed some channels, then let me know in the comments down below. And of course, I also have videos about visual effects in Blender and After Effects, so feel free to check them out as well. Now, like I said, I mostly learned visual effects by watching YouTube tutorials, but there are also some great courses available online which can speed up the learning progress. Most of the courses online are about 3D in Blender in general, like the ones from CG Boost, for example. I really like the ones about urban and landscape environments, but there are not so many visual effects specific courses that I can recommend. InLightVFX just launched a VFX course, which seems really good. Now, I haven't watched the course, but his videos are super high quality and the promo material looks really good, unlike any other VFX course. But like I said, since I haven't watched many courses, I also can't recommend you more courses. Now, probably the most common question I get asked is, which hardware do I need to create visual effects? And well, there's not one answer for this. It really depends on what you want to do. If we look at Blender's minimum PC requirements, we can see that it's actually pretty low. So if you have these specs, you can use Blender. But truth is, it will probably run pretty badly, with long loading and render times and potentially more crashes. But as you're not doing any super complex stuff in the beginning, I would just advise you to use what you have and then upgrade later when you get a chance. And that's everything you need to know about learning visual effects. If you now want to see it in action, I can definitely recommend to watch this video right here, where I give you a complete guide on how to create your first visual effect shot in Blender and After Effects.